Hello, freak bitches. You know, all that power already. Like, why would he want to be the president? It just seems like such a fucking hellacious job. Unless he really feels like he can fix things, or he's really gonna make a ton of money from it.
I mean, this is a guy who plasters his fucking name on buildings and shit, you know. So I think it's really just a matter for him of like, this is part of my legacy. You know, towards the end of my life, I was president of the United States.
It's so weird. It's so weird because it's another version of what many people did with Obama, in this weird way. In that when Obama got into office, there was all these like really, really irrational people that said all kinds of crazy shit. And by the way, Trump was amongst them. He was a birther.
Yeah, he was.
Remember? For the longest time, he was convinced. Somebody convinced him. I don't know who convinced him. I don't know if he really relinquished it and realized he was wrong, or if he still holds on to the idea.
Did he ever really believe it, too?
I don't know. I don't know. But you know who started that whole birther thing? Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, she did.
That's right. That's something that people forget.
It was during the campaign between her and Obama when they were trying to get the nomination in 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had one of her little orgs send out materials that, you know, showed Obama in like he was wearing like some African Muslim garb shit because he went on a visit to some other country. You look at him, you know, he's Muslim.
God.
And you know, and Trump just ran with that.
Yeah.
Or a lot of Republicans did too, because, you know.
Well, I guess that's just how they play politics. They have something like that. They just run with it. It's just so strange to see.
Well, when you got a candidate named Barack Obama,
I know, it's amazing.
It's easy.
Hussein
Obama, like
Barack Hussein Obama.
Hussein, isn't that the guy that, you know, ran Iraq? And Obama, isn't that similar to the name of the guy that crashed those planes into the towers? And
yeah, somebody had a joke, really good, well-worded joke. I don't remember who it was though. Might have been Tony Hinchcliffe, but it's just. This is almost a similar reaction. I don't mean it's more rational or less rational. What I mean is almost like the energy of the reaction, like the energy of the birthers and the guys who were convinced that he was some sort of undercover Muslim and then he was going to get into the White House and try to take America down from the inside. Like that feeling, that the amount of energy that way is mirrored now on the left. Maybe even past. I would say probably. I might not be right because I might not be remembering it perfectly, but I feel like the energy on the left of people getting mad at Trump is more powerful there's more to it than the energy that I saw from people on the right that wanted Obama out of office. Well, but it might just be my memory.
You got to remember, too, there's like an age gap there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, most of the people who were talking this shit about Obama were pretty old.
Right.
And a lot of the people now that are pissed are really young, so they're more likely to take to the streets and, you know, smash things and hold up signs and, you know, act wild and shit.
And mace people.
Yeah, you know, I remember when Bush took office, though. Like, when Bush was being inaugurated, I remember he was driving down to the White House on Inauguration Day, and there were... You know, with Trump, the protesters kind of came the next day. Mm. But when Bush was inaugurated, the protesters were all there the day of, and, you know, Bush couldn't even do the little traditional walk down the last few blocks of the journey because there were so many protesters.
Yeah.
People were just throwing things at the fucking motorcade and shit. So, I mean, like, this is not unusual.
But that was towards the end.
No, that was the very beginning.
Which one am I thinking of? Wasn't there one towards the very end that... I think we're thinking of different ones.
Okay.
I think my memory's fucked up. But I think there was one towards the end where they had planned on having him walk down some long stretch.
Yeah.
And they had to abandon it and get him into a car. Is that the same story?
That was, yeah, well, I think that was both times. I think it was the first, but even during his first time, like when he was just first being inaugurated president in 2000.
So right after Clinton, right, that inauguration was bad too.
It was almost the same. Yeah, it was terrible. It was almost the same as what you see now because people had this Democrat in power for 8 years, and they thought like, yeah, and they thought Gore's a shoo-in because Clinton's popular. Mm-hmm. Just same as like Hillary's a shoo-in because Obama's popular.
Right.
But you know, a Republican ended up taking it, and they just freaked out. And it seems like that always just happens. I mean, like this kind of like backlash, like it always is kind of sold to us as like, this is new. This is like, oh, wow, look at what's going on now. Isn't this crazy? What crazy times we live in. But I look back at my memories of the past, and it seems like this is pretty par for the course.
I think you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's almost like we go through these like cycles.
Yeah.
And if a president gets past one cycle removed from his tenure, then people forgive him. They forget, and they change their opinion.
Yeah.
Like Reagan. Like, man, when I was a kid, Reagan was a pariah. Like, people were so upset about Reagan. They were so upset, and there was the Contra versus Nicaragua trial that was on television with Oliver North.
Yeah.
And we were finding out on TV, like, whether or not the government had sold arms and lied about it, and then you know the whole Reagan thing with whether or not Reagan sold arms to Iran. The great Jimmy Tingle, hilarious stand-up comedian in Boston, has this bit about it because that was when Reagan started claiming Alzheimer's, or when he claimed memory issues, which turned out to be true. I mean, he really did have memory issues, and he probably did at the time. But they asked him, "Did you sell arms to Iraq?" He said, "I don't know." And Jimmy Tingle's like, "Mr. President, if you ever sell arms to people who hate us, jot it down." It's like, make a note, put it on the refrigerator. Today I sold arms to people who hate me. You have to hear him say it.
I mean, you know, you have to realize, though, like, America's always been a huge arms dealer. I mean, we're constantly selling weapons.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, if he didn't remember why he did it, it's probably because there were just so many other transactions. I don't think the president personally gets involved too much in that sort of stuff. But
no, probably not.
Our country sells weapons all over the place, and we continue to do that.
Yeah. My point was that, like, 8 years later, he was the great Ronald Reagan.
Oh, yeah.
8 years later.
Lionized.
He goes through the Clinton administration. Everybody's done with Clinton, getting his dick sucked in the White House and all that craziness. And then as soon as that's over, people start reminiscing to Reagan. It's really interesting. It's really interesting how we do it. And so now Bush went through this period of being hated, and he's out of office. And Obama goes through his period of being hated for 8 years. And now that an even more unreasonable Republican's in office, people long to the Bush days.
Oh, yeah. Like, you notice they're trotting Bush out and doing interviews with him. Like, hey, remember this war criminal? Now he's okay.
He's Uncle Bush. It's Uncle Bush here.
Uncle Bush going to set you on his knee.
They superimpose, what is that, protests during the Bush administration?
From his inaugurations, yeah.
Yep.
Wow. What is it saying? Fuck Bush? Oh, yeah, Buck Fush.
Buck Fush.
There's a couple "you're not my president" things.
Of course, man. Of course.
So, you know, this is all so cyclic.
Yeah.
It just happens over and over again, and people think it's new, and you know, for some, I guess it's the country just has a short memory.
Dude, what a crazy show this is. What a crazy show we're watching. The battle to control the world.
Yeah, political theater, pageantry. But, you know, like, it's just, I mean, like, I don't want to get into, like, you already had Alex Jones on the show. I can't really get into that level of territory. But, I mean, I do agree that these parties are constantly just working together behind the scenes, and that 90% of the issues they agree on, they just make a big spectacle of the little things they actually disagree on to, you know, distract us with a show. Look, America, look at us. We're fighting.
Right.
Have they stopped paying attention? Okay, now we do the real deals. Who are we going to bomb? Who are we going to invade? You know, who are we going to sell weapons to? Whatever.
Yeah.